The sky of Velaria burned with red clouds as fire rained from above. The great war between humans and Velari people had reached deep into the forests. In one quiet corner of the land, where tall trees whispered in the wind, something fell from the sky. It was a small escape pod, spinning fast and crashing into the soft green earth. A young Velari princess named Nira watched the smoke rise from a distance. She stood on the high steps of her garden tower, looking through a round crystal lens. Her guards were busy watching the city walls. No one noticed the crash. Nira's heart beat fast. She had never seen a human up close, only heard stories from the elders. They said humans were dangerous, quick to fight, and showed no mercy. But she was curious, not afraid, quiet as a breeze. She slipped through the back gate and entered the thick forest. Her long dark cloak covered her silver skin. Her eyes, a soft green, scanned the trees as she walked carefully toward the smoke. Birds flew away. The air was hot and heavy. She found the pod between two giant roots. Metal bent and cracked. Steam hissed from small holes. Nira stepped closer and gasped. Inside the broken door, curled up in a blanket, was a human child. The boy looked around 6 years old. His clothes were torn. His face had a small cut. His arms were wrapped around his legs, and his eyes were wide with fear. He had short dark hair and pale skin. He looked at Nira with eyes full of tears. He did not scream or run. He just stared. Shaking a little, Nira slowly knelt down. She spoke softly in her own language, but the boy did not understand. Still, she kept her voice calm. She held out her hand. The boy flinched at first, then looked again. Her hand was clean, her eyes kind. He reached out slowly. His small fingers touched hers. "My name is Nira," she whispered. He could not repeat it, but he smiled a little. She smiled back. Nira knew she could not take him to the palace. If her father or the guards found out, they would send him away or worse. She remembered a quiet place in her garden, a small room hidden behind the trees and vines. She used to go there to be alone, to draw or sing. No one else visited it. She wrapped the boy in her cloak and lifted him gently. He was light. His head rested on her shoulder. She walked carefully through the forest, staying away from paths. When she reached the palace walls, she climbed through an old stone arch covered with moss. The garden was silent, full of flowers and tall trees. The hidden room was still there. Dusty but safe, she laid him on a soft mat and gave him water. He drank slowly. She brought fruits and warm bread from the kitchen. He ate quietly, looking up at her with trust. He did not speak much, only said one word, Toma. That was his name. Days passed. Nira came to visit him every morning and evening. She brought food, blankets, and small toys carved from wood. She taught him how to say a few words in her language. He called her Nira clearly now and smiled more often, sometimes. He drew pictures in the dirt, stars, ships, and people. Toma was no longer afraid. He played with birds, chased butterflies, and laughed softly when he saw flowers open with the sun. Nira watched him and felt warmth in her heart. She had saved a life, and that life had brought peace to her garden. But peace did not last. One afternoon, Nira returned to the garden and saw two of her guards near the gate. They were looking at broken branches and small footprints. "We think someone entered the garden," one said. Nira acted calm. It may have been a wild animal, but they were not sure. That night, Nira knew she had to act. If the guards searched the garden and found Toma, they might take him away. She could not let that happen. She spoke to her old nurse, a kind Velari woman who once served her mother. The nurse trusted Nira and agreed to help. She arranged for a secret trader to come by the edge of the forest the next day. The trader often helped lost travelers and kept no records. Early morning came. The garden was quiet. Toma sat on a stone, playing with a small bird. Nira walked toward him, her heart heavy. "Toma," she said softly. He looked up and ran to hug her. She held him close, then knelt to his level. "You must go," she whispered. He looked confused. She pointed to the forest, "To your people." He shook his head, his eyes filled with tears. Nira wiped his cheeks. "You will be safe." She gave him a small wooden star. "Keep this. It will remind you of me." Toma held it tight. Then, slowly, he nodded. Nira led him through the hidden path one last time. At the edge of the forest, the trader waited with a quiet chip. Nira gave him a small pouch of crystals. "This child must reach human land. No harm must come to him." The trader nodded. He lifted Toma gently into the ship. Toma looked back one last time. His eyes met Nira's. He did not speak, but his look said everything: trust, thanks, and something deeper. Nira waved. The ship rose into the sky and disappeared. She stood there for a long time, silent among the trees. Far away, the war continued. But in her heart, a small light remained. She had saved a child. She had done what was right. She did not know it yet, but that child would return, stronger, braver, and with the same eyes that once looked up at her with wonder. Years passed like waves in the sea, always moving, never stopping. The boy named Toma, once hidden in a garden by a kind alien princess, now walked on Earth among millions of humans. But inside him, the memory of Velaria and the girl with gentle green eyes stayed alive. Toma was taken in by a rescue group. They cared for children who were lost in war. He didn't speak much at first. He often stared at the sky, drawing stars in the sand or making small wooden shapes just like the one Nira gave him. Many thought he was just another war orphan, but Toma knew he was different. He had been saved by someone the world called an enemy. He never forgot her name. He never forgot her kindness. As he grew older, he became stronger, taller, and sharper. He trained in self-defense, studied history, and learned about space travel. He often asked his teachers about Velaria, but most of them told him the same thing: the Velari cannot be trusted. Some called them dangerous, others called them liars. But Toma knew the truth. Nira was real. Her kindness was real. Not all Velari were cruel. He had seen their beauty, their nature, their peace. He had seen her eyes. By the time Toma turned 21, he had joined the Interplanetary Peace Guard, a special human group trained to help calm wars across the galaxy. It was a hard job, full of rules, risks, and unknown dangers. But Toma never complained. He trained harder than the others. He ran faster, shot better, and always stayed calm under pressure. Some of his teammates noticed he often looked at the stars at night. When they asked why, he just smiled and said, "I once had a reason to believe in peace." During a training test, the captain asked Toma why he wanted to join the Peace Guard. Toma answered, "Because someone who was supposed to be my enemy once saved me. I want to return that gift." His answer was quiet, but powerful. The captain didn't ask more. Across the galaxy, on the green and glowing planet of Velaria, Princess Nira also had grown. Her long hair flowed like silver threads. Her voice was stronger now. She sat among wise leaders and guided the people with grace. The war had not ended fully, but the heavy battles had stopped. Nira worked every day to protect her land through words, not weapons. Many Velari respected her. Some doubted her ways. A few powerful elders believed peace with humans was a dream that would never come true. But Nira kept working. She remembered the child she once saved. She remembered his laughter and quiet smile. She sometimes visited the old garden. The trees had grown taller, the flowers brighter. The hidden room was still there. Inside, she kept a wooden star, the one she had carved for Toma. She believed he was still out there somewhere. One morning, both Earth and Velaria received the same news. A new peace council would be held in the Velari capital. A few chosen humans would travel to the planet to speak with Velari leaders. It was a risk, but both sides agreed. If this meeting went well, real peace could begin. Toma heard about the mission and stepped forward. "I want to be part of the team," he said. The council looked at him. He had no family name, no known past before age 6, but his record was clean. His skill was high. After a long pause, the commander nodded. Toma's heart beat fast. He was going back. He would see Velaria again. Maybe, just maybe, he would see her. He did not speak his hope out loud, Some people still feared the Velari. Some still thought all aliens were enemies. But Toma kept quiet and prepared for the journey. The ship to Velaria was quiet, filled with tension. A small group of Earth officers sat in clean uniforms. Toma wore his own suit, simple but strong. He stared out the window as stars passed by. When Velaria came into view, his breath caught. The planet was still beautiful. Forests covered the land like a green sea. Mountains stood tall. Rivers sparkled under the sky. The ship landed in the capital. Tall towers made of shining stone reached toward the sun. Soft blue lights floated above the streets. Velari guards stood in perfect lines. And waiting near the great council hall was a group of Velari leaders. At the center of them stood Princess Nira. She was dressed in royal silver and soft green. Her face was calm. Her eyes, still kind, scanned the human team. When her gaze met Toma's, she froze. Toma stood still. His hands were at his sides. He looked different now, older, taller, a soldier. But his eyes were the same. A memory flashed in her mind. The small boy she once saved, standing in a quiet garden, holding a wooden star. It was him. But she said nothing. She turned and led the group into the hall. Toma followed with the others. His heart was full of questions. Would she speak to him? Did she remember him? Did she still visit the garden? That night, after the meetings, the human team returned to their quarters. Toma could not sleep. He walked outside, the cool air brushing against his face. He followed the garden path. The place had changed a little, but he knew the way. And when he reached the hidden room behind the trees, his breath stopped. She was already there. Princess Nira stood near the flowers, holding the wooden star in her hand. She turned slowly. They looked at each other, no longer a child and a princess, but still the same two souls. You came back, she said softly. Toma nodded. I never forgot. The fire burned low as the night grew deeper. Rena sat close to it. Her hands wrapped around a warm cup Tarn had given her. She looked tired, but her eyes were full of questions. Tarn sat across from her, fixing an old radio. He worked with calm hands, slowly turning wires and knobs. Sparks flew now and then, but he didn't flinch. Rena kept looking at him. Why did no one ever find you? She asked softly. Your name should be in every record. Every planet should know you're still alive. Tarn didn't look up. People stopped looking a long time ago. When they didn't find a body, they made up their own ending. That was easier for them. Rena frowned. But you're not just a soldier. You were part of history. Tarn gave a small shrug. History is written by those who speak the loudest. I stayed quiet. Rena paused, then reached into her small bag. She pulled out a square device with a screen. I want to show you something, she said. Tarn looked up for a moment, then nodded. Rena tapped a few buttons, and the screen lit up. A picture appeared, blurry but clear enough. It showed a younger Tarn standing near a large destroyed alien machine. His chest was burned. The scar just starting to form. Tarn stared at it. That was taken after the final attack. He said quietly, I thought that data was lost. Rena nodded. Most of it was. But my people found fragments. We put it together piece by piece. This one photo has been passed around in secret for years. The elders call you the ghost of Earth. Some fear you. Others see you as a symbol of hope. Tarn looked away. They turned a man into a myth. That's dangerous. Rena leaned forward. But you are that man. You destroyed the Sun Harvester, a weapon that could drain energy from entire planets. You walked into it alone while everyone else ran. I had no choice, Tarn said. If I hadn't, Earth would have fallen. Rena watched him closely. And you survived, barely. That's what no one believed. The records said your body couldn't have lived through the energy blast. I shouldn't have. Tarn said, but something happened. The core didn't explode like it was meant to. It fused with me instead. The blast marked me, left this scar. But also, it did something else. Rena's eyes widened. What do you mean? Tarn slowly pulled open his coat and pointed to the center of the scar. Sometimes. It glows faintly. It hums, especially when alien tech is near. I think the machine left a part of itself inside me, Rena touched a button on her scanner and waved it gently near the scar. The screen blinked, then flashed with strange symbols. She gasped, This is ancient code. This language hasn't been used in over 1,000 years. Tarn nodded. I've seen it in my dreams. Rena sat back, shocked. That's not just a wound. It's a data mark. Your body is carrying a message. Tarn's voice was calm. I've carried it for years, never knowing what it meant. Rena looked at him, her face full of wonder. This is why I came to Earth. We found a clue in the royal records, a signal pointing to this planet. My mission was to find the source, and now I think you are the source. Tarn raised an eyebrow. You were looking for me, no, Rena admitted, but I was looking for this, for the message inside your scar. I didn't know it was part of a person. Tarn looked into the fire. Maybe I was waiting for someone who could read it. There was a silence between them. The wind outside whispered against the walls. Rena stood and walked to the doorway. She looked at the night sky, now filled with stars. In my kingdom, some believe the universe sends answers through people. You may be one of those answers. Tarn stood beside her. I'm just a man who wanted peace. Rena looked up at him. Maybe, but now, peace depends on you. Suddenly, the scanner on her wrist beeped sharply. A red light flashed. Rena checked it quickly. Her face turned serious. What is it? Tarn asked. A signal, she said. A coded message. It's from one of my people. They found out I survived the crash, but the message was intercepted. The Zirak may already be coming again. Tarn moved back inside and picked up his spear. How long do we have? Maybe a day, Rena said. Maybe less. Tarn opened a metal box under the floor. Inside were old tools, wires, and energy cells. He began checking them one by one. You're going to fight again? Rena asked. If I must, Tarn replied. But not for war. For protection. Rena stepped closer. You're not like other humans. Tarn gave her a small, tired smile. I've seen too much to be like them. Rena touched the wooden table beside them. Do you have a plan? Tarn nodded. We can't run. The forest slows them down. If they land, we guide them where we want. I know this ground. They don't. Rena looked at him with quiet trust. Then I'll help. Tarn looked into her eyes. Are you ready for what comes next? Rena answered. I didn't come this far to run now. Outside, the stars continued to shine, unaware of the storm that was coming. But inside that quiet shelter, two people, one human, one alien, stood side by side, ready to face it together. The ghost of Earth was no longer hiding, and the princess of the stars had found her answer. The morning light was dim and pale. A thin mist moved through the forest. Birds were quiet. Trees stood still, as if they also sensed something coming. Tarn stepped outside the shelter. He looked up at the sky. The air felt heavy. He could feel the pressure. It was not just the wind. It was something deeper, a warning. Rena stood behind him. She wore a dark cloak now, given to her by Tarn, to hide her glowing skin. Her silver hair was tied back. Her eyes were sharp. She had trained as a royal, not as a fighter, but she was ready. They're close, Tarn said, his voice low. Rena checked her wrist scanner. One ship, no, two. They're scanning this area. It's the Zirak. Tarn nodded slowly. We let them land. They'll think they have the upper hand. Rena looked unsure. What if they send many soldiers? Tarn picked up his spear and placed a few small metal orbs into his belt. Then we use the ground. This forest is our shield. They won't know where to step. He walked toward the edge of the trees. Rena followed. We'll guide them away from the shelter, he said. If they find it, they'll destroy it, and they'll find the data inside me. We must not let that happen. Rena asked, what about your safety? Tarn looked at her, his voice calm. I've lived long enough hiding. Today, I fight for something that matters again. The forest floor was soft. Tarn moved through it like a shadow. Rena stayed close, her steps light but unsure. She had never walked into battle before. Still, she did not turn away. High above them, two ships appeared, black and sharp-edged. They moved slowly, scanning the land below. Blue light swept across the trees. Tarn held up his hand. Here they come. The ships hovered, then slowly lowered into a clearing not far from the shelter. A loud sound filled the air as the doors opened. Tall figures stepped out, the Zirak, covered in dark armor, with glowing green eyes. They carried pulse rifles and moved in lines. "They're searching for me," Rena whispered. Tarn touched her shoulder. "Stay behind this tree. Don't move unless I call you." She nodded and crouched down. Tarn stepped forward. He did not run. He walked calmly into the open. The Zirak turned. "Human," one of them said, "leave this place. We are not here for you." Tarn's voice was quiet, but strong. "You are not welcome here." The Zirak leader raised his weapon. "We don't answer to you. Move aside." But Tarn didn't move. He took one small orb from his belt and tossed it gently to the ground. It rolled, blinked once, then released a burst of smoke and light. The Zirak were blinded for a second. That was all Tarn needed. He ran forward, faster than they expected. His spear hummed as he struck the first one. Sparks flew. The soldier dropped, the others turned, but Tarn was already gone, vanished into the trees. One Zirak fired at the mist. Another shouted in their language. And used the forest like a weapon. He moved between shadows, using every rock and tree. For cover, his old training returned like it had never left. His mind was sharp, his body steady. One by one, the Zirak fell. Some were stunned. Others were trapped in vines Tarn had rigged with devices. None of them expected a human to fight like this, alone. Silent and precise, Rena watched from the shadows. Her heart raced. She had never seen anything like this. Tarn was not just a legend. He was better than the stories. But then, something changed. A third ship appeared. Larger than the first two, it landed beyond the trees. Its engine shook the ground. Tarn. Rena called softly. "There's another ship." He heard her and returned to her side. "This one wasn't in your scan," he said. She checked again. No signal. It must have blocked it. "That ship, it's a command vessel." Tarn narrowed his eyes. "Which means someone important is here." From the large ship, a tall Zirak stepped out. His armor was darker, his helmet shaped like a crown. His voice echoed through a speaker. "Ghost of Earth," he said, "we know you live. We've come to take what is inside you. Do not fight. Come forward." Tarn stepped out of hiding. "And if I don't, then we destroy everything," the Zirak leader said. "The girl, the forest, the land." Rena stepped beside Tarn. "He won't let that happen." The Zirak laughed. "You think this broken human can stop us? He is old, alone." Tarn's eyes stayed calm. "I'm not alone." He touched his belt and activated a small signal. From the distance, hidden in the trees, a blast of light shot out. One of the smaller ships exploded. Flames rose. The Zirak leader growled. "You made your choice." More soldiers came out. Dozens. Tarn turned to Rena. "Now we move. Stay close. Together." They ran deeper into the forest. Behind them, the Zirak gave chase. Tarn led her through narrow paths, across rocks and fallen logs. He knew this ground well. He had set traps, lights, and sound mirrors. As the soldiers entered, chaos began. Branches snapped, light flared. One by one, the Zirak were slowed, stopped, and scattered. Tarn and Rena reached a cave, small but strong. Inside, they caught their breath. Rena touched his arm. "You were right. The forest is our shield." Tarn looked at her, breathing slowly. "But they'll come again, and next time, they'll bring more." Rena held up her scanner. "Then we need to leave. I sent a signal to my people. A ship may come, but we must survive until then." Tarn looked into the dark cave. "We will." The war had come to Earth again. But this time, the ghost was ready, and beside him stood a princess who believed not in fear, but in hope. Together, they would stand. Together, they would fight. The cave was cool and dark. Soft drops of water fell from the ceiling, echoing through the narrow space. Tarn sat with his back against the stone wall. His eyes half closed. Rena sat across from him, her scanner glowing in her hands. Outside, the forest was quiet again. But the danger had not passed. The Zirak were still out there. They were searching, planning, waiting. But for now, Tarn and Rena had a few hours of peace. Rena looked at Tarn's chest, then at her scanner. I need to scan your scar again, she said. Tarn nodded. Go ahead. She leaned closer and gently placed the scanner above the old wound. The device made a soft sound and strange symbols appeared on the screen. Her eyes widened. It's not just a message, she whispered. There's a full pattern inside. It's like a code or a map. Tarn looked at her. A map to what? I don't know yet, she said, still reading. But it's ancient. It uses a language older than my people. Very few can even read this now. My grandfather once told me about these symbols. He said they were left by the first star builders. Tarn raised an eyebrow. Star builders? Yes, Rena nodded. A forgotten race. Long before humans or Valari, they built machines that could shape planets. But one of those machines was lost. My people believed it was buried somewhere. In this system, the warning in our records pointed here, to Earth. Tarn sat up straighter. You think that machine is still here? Rena looked serious. Yes. And I think the code in your scar is the key to waking it or stopping it. Tarn looked down at his chest. The scar had been a burden for so long. Now it had meaning. How did it get inside me? He asked. I never saw symbols before. The sun harvester, Rena answered. It must have carried the code. When you destroyed it, part of it fused with you. Not just energy, but data. Tarn nodded slowly. So now I carry something ancient, something dangerous. Rena stood and walked in a circle, thinking, the Zirak know. That's why they're here. They don't just want me. They want what's inside you. Tarn stood as well. Then, we need to stay ahead of them. Rena tapped her scanner. If we can reach a safe place, I can send a full signal to my people. A large ship can pick us up. But we need to move away from this area. Tarn stepped toward the cave entrance. We'll go at first light. Rena looked at him. You're not afraid. I've carried this scar for years, he said. It's time I found out why. The next morning, they moved through the forest carefully. Tarn led the way, watching every shadow. Rena followed, holding her scanner, guiding them toward higher ground. They reached a hill with a wide view. From there, Rena sent a stronger signal. A blue light shot into the sky. Brief but bright. There, she said. They'll trace that. Us or the Zirak? Tarn asked. Both, maybe, she replied. They continued walking. After a few hours, they found an old communication station. Broken and quiet, but its roof was still strong. Inside, they set up camp. Rena connected her scanner to a dusty console. Sparks flew, but then the screen blinked on. Slowly, the code from Tarn's scar was uploaded. It's working, she said. Give it time. Tarn checked the windows. We might not have much. Rena worked for hours. Eyes locked on the symbols. She compared them to her language files, unlocking one line at a time. Then suddenly, she stopped. Tarn, she said, her voice shaking slightly. I found something. He walked over. What is it? She pointed at the screen. This part of the code is a message, a voice log. A voice log. Tarn asked. Rena played it. A soft, deep voice spoke. The language was strange, but the translation appeared in words on the screen. To the one who holds this mark, you are the last gate. You carry the memory of the builder. Use it with care. The machine sleeps, but it dreams of power. Do not wake it unless the stars are truly falling. The message ended. Silence returned. Rena looked at Tarn. The machine is alive. In a way, it can be used to protect or destroy. That's why. The Zirak want it. Tarn took a deep breath. And I'm the one who can wake it. Rena nodded. Yes. Your body holds the last access key. Tarn stared at the screen. Then we need to find it before they do. Suddenly, an alarm rang. From her scanner. They're here, she said. Tarn moved fast. He grabbed his spear and looked outside. Shadows moved between the trees. The Zirak had found them. They're closing in, he said. We can't fight them all. Rena stood. Then we run. Tarn nodded. We go east. There's an old bunker. I used it during the last war. We might be safe there. Rena followed him out. The forest was darker now. The the sun hidden by clouds. The Zirak moved fast, but Tarn knew every path. He led her through streams and narrow trails. At one point, a Zirak soldier appeared from the trees. Rena froze. Tarn stepped in front and raised his spear. The soldier attacked, but Tarn blocked the blow. He struck fast, and the soldier dropped. "Keep moving," he said. They reached the bunker as the sky turned orange. Tarn opened the heavy door, and they rushed inside. Safe, for now. Rena sat down, breathing hard. That code, that message, it changes everything. Tarn closed the door. "Yes. Now we know what we carry." Rena looked at him. "Tarn, the galaxy may need you again." Tarn sat beside her, quiet. "I never wanted to be a hero," he said. "But maybe this time I can help in a better way." Rena smiled gently. "Not by war, but by truth." The scar on his chest glowed faintly, and somewhere deep underground, the ancient machine stirred in its sleep. The bunker was dark and cold. Thick walls made of old earth metal kept the Zirak from finding them for now. Tarn lit a small lamp and placed it in the center of the room. Rena sat close to the console, still reading the remaining code from Tarn's. Scar.Tar sat near the door, his spear resting beside him. His eyes scanned every corner of the bunker. It had been years since he was here, and memories of the war came flooding back. The silence, the fear, the waiting. But this time, it felt different. He wasn't just hiding. He was protecting something bigger than himself. Rena looked up from the screen. "Tarn," she said, "I found the coordinates." He turned. "Where do they lead?" "Underground," she replied. "Very deep. There's an old site, buried before your cities even existed. The machine is there, hidden." Tarn stood. "How far?" "2 days if we move fast," Rena said. "But the Zirak will follow. They won't stop now." Tarn nodded. "Then we leave before sunrise." That night, they took turns sleeping. Rena curled up beside her scanner. Tarn didn't sleep much. He kept thinking about the message, the code, and the power he carried unknowingly for years. The scar on his chest no longer felt like a wound. It was now a key, a warning, and a responsibility. At first light, they left the bunker. The sky was gray. Wind moved through the trees like whispers. Tarn led the way, stepping carefully through the woods. Rena followed close behind, her scanner wrapped in cloth to protect it. They crossed rivers and rocky paths. Birds flew overhead. And once they saw a group of old machines buried in rust, and vines, broken pieces from a war long gone. The world was quiet, but the tension between them grew. Both knew what waited ahead could change everything. By evening, they reached the edge of an open field. In the distance, a strange hill rose from the ground, but it wasn't natural. Its shape was too perfect, like a giant dome half buried in earth. "That's it," Rena said softly. "The entrance is inside." They waited until nightfall before moving closer. Tarn checked for traps, scanned the ground, and finally found a narrow opening at the base of the dome. "This leads down," he said. "But it's dark." Rena pulled out a small light and followed him inside. They walked through a tunnel made of old stone and metal. Symbols lined the walls. The air was cool, and the deeper they went, the more silent it became. After a long walk, they reached a large chamber. At the center stood a tall, ancient door. It had no handle, only carvings, the same symbols Rena had seen in the code. "This is it," she said. "Only you can open it." Tarn stepped forward as he placed his hand near the center. The scar on his chest began to glow faintly. The symbols on the door lit up in response. A soft hum filled the air. Then slowly, the door slid open. Inside was a large room with strange machines glowing softly. At the center was a tall device shaped like a spire. Its surface was smooth and alive, like it had been sleeping for a very long time. Rena walked toward it. Her scanner buzzed. "This is the builder's device," she said. "The Star Maker. But it's incomplete. Some parts are missing or damaged." Tarn stepped closer. "Can it still be used?" Rena nodded slowly. "Yes, but it must be repaired first, and we need time." Suddenly, her scanner beeped loudly. "They're close," she whispered. "The Zirak are coming." Tarn looked around. We need to defend this place. There's one option. Rena said, we can activate the shield. The code in your scar can unlock it. But if we do, the Zirak will know we're here. Tarn thought for a moment. Do it. Rena placed the scanner on the spire. Then she guided Tarn's hand to a small panel. On the machine, the scar glowed again, brighter this time. The machine responded with a rising sound. Blue light spread across the walls. A protective field wrapped around the room. It would hold for a while, maybe long enough. Outside, the ground shook. The Zirak had arrived. Inside the chamber, Rena worked quickly, typing commands and decoding ancient files. Tarn watched the entrance. His spear was ready. I need a few more Rs, Rena said. You'll have them, Tarn replied suddenly. The shield flashed. A strong blast hit from the outside. The Zirak had found the control system and were trying to break it. Tarn stood firm. They won't take this from us. Rena looked at him. You were chosen. Even if you didn't know it. I was just a soldier, he said. Not anymore, she whispered. The attacks grew stronger. The walls shook and dust fell from the ceiling. But the shield held. Rena finally smiled. I found the final command. If we activate it, the machine will wake fully. But it must be done by you. The code is locked to your body. You're mine, Tarn. Step forward. Tell me what to do. Rena guided him to the spire. Place your hand here. Close your eyes. Let it read your memories. Tarn did as she said. The moment his hand touched the panel, images rushed into his mind. Battles, losses, pain, and hope. The machine wasn't just reading his thoughts. It was understanding his heart. The light grew stronger. The chamber filled with a soft hum. The machine spoke in a calm, deep voice. Builder's code accepted. Guardian found. Rena stared at Tarn. It knows you now. The machine showed a map in the air. Stars, planets, hidden routes. It was a guide, a warning. And a key. Then it spoke again. Prepare for awakening. Tarn pulled back, his hand shaking. Rena looked at him. You've done it. The galaxy will know. But we must survive this night. Outside, the Zirak gathered in greater numbers. Inside, humanity's last hope had awakened. And Tarn stood between them. Not just a man with a scar, but the key to an ancient power. The ground shook again. Small cracks formed along the walls of the ancient chamber. Dust fell from above as the Zirak continued their attack. Outside, their war machines had gathered in great numbers. Inside, the shield glowed weakly, flickering. Like a candle in the wind. Tarn stood at the entrance, his body firm, his eyes sharp. His spear was ready. The scar on his chest still glowed with faint light. Connected now to the ancient machine behind him, Rena moved between the old consoles, trying to finish the final command. The Starmaker machine had awakened, but it needed one last signal to release its true power. Tarn, she said, her voice quick. They'll break through soon. He nodded. How much time do you need? 10 minutes, she answered. Typing fast, maybe less. Tarn looked at the shield. It flashed red. They won't give us that long. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the tunnel. A part of the ceiling fell. One of the Zirak bombs had landed close. The shield cracked. A strange, high-pitched sound followed. The Zirak were using a new weapon. Rena jumped back, covering her ears. They're inside the outer layer. Tarn stepped forward and placed his hand on the door. Seal it, he said. Rena stared at him. If I do that, you'll be on the other side. They won't stop unless I do something. But you'll... Tarn gave a small smile. This was never about me, Rena. It was about the machine. About hope. Rena's hand shook. You don't have to. I do. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she placed her hand on the console. The door closed slowly with a deep metal sound. Tarn turned around and faced the tunnel. The Zirak soldiers came fast. Their armor was dark like smoke, and their eyes glowed red. They saw Tarn, standing alone, and stopped. One step forward. You carry the old mark, he said. It belongs to us now. Tarn didn't speak. He held his spear tight and took a step forward. We will break the door, the Zirak warned. Your machine will fall. Tarn lowered his spear. Then come and try. The battle started in silence. Tarn moved with skill, faster than they expected. His spear spun through the air, striking hard and true. The Zirak fought back, but Tarn kept them away from the sealed chamber. Each movement was powered by purpose. He was not fighting for himself. He was buying time. Inside, Rena watched the console. Her eyes filled with tears, but her hand stayed steady. She completed the final sequence. The machine's light grew stronger, warmer. A soft hum filled the air. It was ready. Suddenly, the chamber walls began to shift. The machine was rising, unfolding, like a flower blooming after a long sleep. A beam of light shot upward, through the ceiling, cutting through stone and earth. Outside, the Zirak looked up. The sky turned blue. The clouds moved apart for the first time in years. Real sunlight touched the ruined lands. The Star Maker had awakened. Tarn was wounded. His arm was bleeding, and his leg was weak, but he did not fall. The Zirak leader stood before him now, taller than the others, with blades for arms. "You should have run," it said. "I don't run," Tarn replied. The Zirak leader raised its arm. Suddenly, a bright light filled the tunnel. The old walls shook. A loud voice echoed from the chamber. System restored. Energy spread active. The light passed through the tunnel. The Zirak leader screamed. Its armor cracked and fell apart. One by one, the other Zirak turned to dust. The machines. Light reached them all, breaking the dark code inside them. Tarn fell to his knees. The light touched his chest, healing his wound, calming his breath. He looked up and saw the doorway open again. Rena ran to him. "You're alive," she said. "I made a promise," he replied with a soft smile. They stood together in the center of the tunnel as the machine behind them shined brighter than ever. The energy from the device spread out across the world, reaching old machines, silent satellites, and hidden systems. Earth's ancient defenses came alive once more. A few days passed. The skies were clear now. The plants had started to grow again. The Zirak signal was gone. Silence had returned, but it was not empty. It was peaceful. Rena stood near the edge of a high cliff, looking at the sunrise. Tarn walked up beside her. "They're gone," she said. "Yes," Tarn nodded, "for now. But others may come one day. Then we'll be ready," she said. They both looked at the stars. Rena turned toward him. "You were never just a soldier." Tarn looked down at the faint glow of his scar. "I was something else all along," he said. "The scar," Rena whispered, "it wasn't just a code. It was a memory, a message left by those who came before, and you were the one they trusted." Tarn did not answer right away. He watched a bird fly across the sky. "Maybe we can build again," he said. "Not just survive," Rena smiled. Together, months later, the chamber became a center of learning. The machine helped heal the planet. Other survivors came out from hiding, guided by the light they saw in the sky. Slowly, Earth began to change. Tarn and Rena worked side by side, not as warrior and outsider, but as two people who shared the same dream, to protect what was left and to shape what would come. One evening, as the stars filled the sky, Rena looked at Tarn. "Do you ever think about the first time we met?" He chuckled softly. "You were afraid of me." "I wasn't afraid," she said. "I was surprised. That scar, it told a story I never expected." Tarn smiled. "A story that brought us here." She nodded. "And it's not over." Together, they stood beneath the stars, a soldier with a scar, and a princess from the stars, guarding the last light of hope, ready for whatever came next.